Today's patio chat is being brought to you locally by Westridge Furniture in Delphus. See it all at your finer outdoor furniture store.
Welcome back, everyone. Putnam County Commissioner John Schlumbohm's with us today. Give us a little update on what's going on in the county. First, he had to battle traffic. He made his way here. Superhero, man. That's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about these brownfield sites. We've heard about these for, a couple of decades now. And the idea, I guess, to take some of these old factory sites that have just sat empty for years and do something with them, right?
Yeah, then that's what we recently got a grant for the old Phillips / Sylvania. The old people know it as Sylvania.
TV
the Phillips
tubes, yeah.
TV tubes. And some of the building is almost not even, it's got to be torn down.
Yeah.
Because to go in and remediate, there's contaminants under the floor, and to take the floor out, and then take the contaminants out, report, and the structure is not in good shape. It's a 50s structure. So a lot of that building is just going to come down, and then hopefully it'll get built back up.
Yeah.
Into a usable space.
As you said, $2.5 million, and part of that will go toward that demolition.
Oh, yeah, a lot of it will.
As you said, and a lot of asbestos in there. I know they're going to do some removal of that.
There's
too.
all kinds of bad stuff in that, old plant.
Well, you think about it. I mean, that was, as you said, a plant built in the 50s. That was before OSHA stepped in a lot of these things and said you can't do this, this, and this, right?
Yeah. So, it's hopefully it'll become a usable space, and we do have one industry, the bus company, the electric bus company is on the north end of that building, and that part of the building was built in the early 90s, so it's a decent building.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is pretty old and dilapidated. So.
And then you think about that property, it's a good property, it's in a good location. You think there's probably potential suitors for it that are just saying, I don't want to mess with that. I want to come in, but this in a sense will help them make a partnership, I guess, to help them.
Definitely, yeah. It's got a rail spur that runs alongside of it, so it's definitely a desirable space. Yeah. And we've had a lot of inquiries, but they find out the bad part of it, and they're shy away. So,
right. What has to be done with it?
Luckily, we don't have a lot of that in Putnam County, though. I know Lima, has quite a bit of the old industrial space, which they've done a good job of cleaning up. But luckily, we don't have a whole bunch of that. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think about we've had, we think of the old local works here in Lima. That was a brownfield issue, but there were just a lot of these places that were sitting empty, and then you thought to yourself, well, you could breathe new life into them, but nobody wants to come in and pay millions of dollars to clean it up. So if the state can help, I think that's
right, because it'll attract jobs, it'll keep jobs here, attract jobs, and that's income for the state and for the village of Ottawa.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a good thing.
Well, and I think you mentioned it too. There is a bit of a nostalgic feel because a lot of people living in Putnam County either worked there at one time or knew somebody that worked there.
Oh, definitely.
So it's nice to see a little bit of new life. Even if buildings are torn down, at least something's happening with that property. There's a little bit of nostalgia feel, I would think, there.
Yeah, they were definitely the largest employer at one time. I've heard, I think, as high as 2,700 people worked there at one time.
Yeah.
And so when they moved out of Ottawa, that was a pretty hard blow for Ottawa.
Yeah.
And Putnam County as a whole.
Right. Well, and is that one of the things you talked about, not having, there's not necessarily a lot of those old brownfield sites, but I feel like we're in a better shape now, especially in Putnam County. If one place like that leaves, you don't want any of them to leave. But back then, as you said, boy, if an employer of 2,700 people left, you were in trouble.
Oh, yeah. That was because they and the Weather Seal plant, which had several hundred people working at it, they kind of closed up at roughly the same time. So it was a pretty big blow.
Yeah. Any other properties in Putnam County you can think of that might be along the same lines?
Not really. The county itself, we bought the old Weather Seal plant.
Yeah.
And so now we lease out. We brought all that up to standards. The whole sprinkler system works now. We've re-roofed. We just put on the last of the roof.
Yeah.
And we're getting pretty good income off of that as a rental property. Plus, it's our maintenance facility for the county. It's a lot of storage for the fair. We use the whole place. We got our recycling there. So it's been a pretty good building for us to own.
Yeah, so eventually, and then for the old tube plant, you'll get into marketing mode, I guess, once things start coming down.
Most of that will be handled by our CIC, by Amy Seal. She does a great job for us in Putnam County and marketing that kind of stuff. So
how do they determine? Any idea? The state, that's a nice chunk of money. How you guys got it? They just pick.
Yeah, we had to apply for it, and we had to have engineers involved to say, yes, this is a hazardous site, and it was quite a process. And again, Amy did 90% of that work, so kudos to her for putting that all together.
Yeah, very interesting. New life into it. All right, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
seeing you. Delaware Medical News coming up next on Noon Edition.